Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm Andrea Finney. We begin tonight in Florida. Rescuers finding a fifth body at the scene of that deadly condo collapse in Surfside. This Memorial Day weekend in Enola, members of the community joined together to remember our fallen soldiers. We have breaking news out of Lebanon just into our newsroom. A 3-alarm fire has caused a building collapse. These flames, they were very difficult to put out, and I want to show you why. Hershey Company here at Consolidated Scrap Resources, they were a huge customer for the recycling plant, and these reels, they're very dense. With the election so close, the Trump campaign nor the GOP are taking any votes for granted. You can see where they've done a lot of patchwork here on 2nd Street, where they've kind of tried to smooth it over, but it'll be a while before we get some really nice, even pavement. It's Pride Month, and Gettysburg is decked out in rainbow this afternoon. Megan Majinsky shares the moment they're commemorating and how it's impacting the area. It's day 4 at the massive rescue effort at the site of the tragic condo tower collapse in Florida. The death toll now stands at 9.
Take a good look at this picture. This is the car that police are now looking for.
Over the past 16 months, kids have faced a slew of challenges resulting in learning loss. Across the Commonwealth so far, no major issues to report in terms of voting, and the same could be said about this location here. There is a public hearing planned for next Tuesday's work session. That would focus on the partner legislation. This year's Kennedy Center honors will look a little different due to the pandemic, yet the honor remains the highest tribute a performing artist can receive. Losing these free meals could mean students suffering through hunger instead of being able to concentrate on learning here in the classroom.
It's going to be a Band-Aid over wounds. Now, that being said, it's a pretty good-sized Band-Aid.
When the state share of funding is low, communities must rely on local wealth or property taxes to fund their schools. Here in PA, lawmakers find financially equipped school districts spend an average of $4,800 more per student than the poorest, and that gap has grown steadily wider.
I know places like Harrisburg and New York have really struggled in terms of funding teachers, in terms of laying off teachers, in terms of increasing property taxes.
The approval of these state funds means the 100 poor school districts in the Commonwealth will receive a portion of equity supplement, splitting an additional $100 million. They represent the majority of minority students, those living in poverty, and English learners. The biggest winners in Central PA are York City School District receiving $3.3 million, Lancaster SD getting close to $2.2 million, and Harrisburg about $2.5 million.
It will provide for this year a structural budget where our revenues now will almost match our expenses.
Harrisburg officials say there are many factors that are challenging for their district, and they are considering a tax increase in the future. But these additional funds could change that conversation.
This allows them not to do that, which is great for taxpayers, but where are students going to see the increase?
And the answer is it depends on each school district. There are, I'm sure, going to wind up being districts that can create better educational opportunities for their students.
Representative Schlossberg says he hopes the legislature will eventually increase funding for Level Up and implement the fair funding formula, because this is just a starting point.
If we would have received the funding that you noted and had charter school reform on top of it, we'd have been $3 to $4 million to the positive.
And he also said having that additional money from the state, creating a surplus, would allow them to invest in sustainable recurring resources that benefit students and lend opportunities to add more support staff. Reporting live, Andrea Finney, CBS 21 News.
Andrea, thank you.
You could have had them in a closed backyard. You could have had them sitting on a couch in the living room secured. You could have did anything but paraded a 15-year-old girl down the street naked.
The Lancaster County Special Emergency Response Team executing a lawful, high-risk search warrant on May 6. But the family living there calling these moments tactless and disturbing.
My job as a mother is to protect my children, and I feel I was stripped of that right that day.
The family says 15-year-old Anaija Aviles was in her undergarments when she was instructed to come outside with her hands behind her head. But impartial law enforcement officers from other agencies tell City Councilwoman Janet Diaz this wasn't protocol.
And he said that whoever trained them were not educated well for them to understand that this should have never happened.
District Attorney Heather Adams writes to CBS 21. Unfortunately, when she appeared outside dressed in that manner, it would not be safe for CERT to allow her or any of the other subjects to go back inside the residence until it was cleared and safe to enter.
Did you ask to cover yourself or
put on pants or any of that before you were taken out of the house?
Yes. When I was on the stairs, I actually told them my age. I asked them if I can get dressed or at least have something put around me, and I was denied and forced outside.
But just this Monday, her mother, Danielle Rao, has filed these 2 complaints with the DA's office and city police over what happened next. As the teen stood zip-tied with her hands behind her back, Rao writes in part, there was another officer that stood behind her. The officer seen to the left of her actually pelvic thrusted my daughter in her panties and bra.
If this was so high risk and we were concerned about the welfare of the children, where was a female officer knowing that, that there's a female underage child here? Where was a social worker?
Now, this team operates at the direction of the county and the district attorney's office, and Anasia was eventually allowed to sit inside the back of a police vehicle. 2 detectives also reportedly shielded her on her walk back to the house. And we do want to be clear, the team was at no point ever under arrest. Reporting live, Andrea Finney, CBS 21 News.
Live from Central Pennsylvania, this is CBS 21 News at 11.
Hello, and thanks for joining us at 11. I'm Andrea Finney. We have a lot to get to tonight, but first, at the top of our list, we have to welcome back Ed Russo. He's back in studio, and it's so good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
In York, dozens of firefighters and emergency crews dousing flames at a 3-alarm fire are happening at a duplex. Officials telling CBS 21 the calls coming in shortly before 4:15 this afternoon. There are no reports of injuries right now. We're working to get more information. Stick with CBS 21 News for updates. And a firefighter plus 1 other person both hurt in a Lancaster Township house fire last night. It happened around 10:30 p.m. 3 adults and a child were also displaced, along with their 3 dogs and 2 cats. The American Red Cross sent volunteers to help those victims. An update out of York, a 15-year-old suspect wanted in the shooting death of a 16-year-old was captured today. Police say they heard gunshots near South and West King Street and spotted Alexis Carrozero. He attempted to run away but was identified and taken into custody. Carrozero had previously been charged with murdering 16-year-old Tyree Smart in March. A Mechanicsburg Animal Rescue Organization saved more than 200 animals from a Shippensburg farm on Friday night, but they say there are still more that need help. Today, a total count was recorded at 242 animals. 64-year-old Barry Ordnorf was taken into custody and charged with 450 counts of animal cruelty. In a Facebook Live video, the Speranza Animal Rescue owner said state police contacted them yesterday, notifying them of the neglected animals. The organization's Facebook post also says that the property had multiple dead and dying animals that unfortunately could not be saved. An update to a story we brought to you earlier this week. 2 girls in Susquehanna Township that were reported missing have been found. Police say Josefina Garcia and Sierra Scott were returned to family and are now home and safe. Today was Keep It Small Saturday in downtown Carlisle. It's an event that celebrates business owners there as the pandemic eases. 21 shops offering deals, discounts, and extended hours for today's event.
You know, all of these downtown businesses.
The next Keep It Small Carlisle event will be Saturday, July 3rd. Coming up when we return, shocking video out of New Mexico. What one unruly passenger decided to do and how he was stopped. Plus, a step backwards for gun law reforms in California. We'll tell you what's once again legal in the state. That's in 8 minutes. The FBI is looking into the actions of a passenger who forced a Delta Airlines jet to make an emergency landing in Albuquerque. CBS News correspondent Michael George has the latest. It's Pride Month and Gettysburg is decked out in rainbow this afternoon. Megan Majinsky shares the moment they're commemorating and how it's impacting the area. A bit of a history lesson. The original rainbow flag was thought to be lost, but part of it was recently found in New York and it is back in San Francisco. It was unveiled Friday in a display at the GLBT Historical Society Museum. Gilbert Baker created it in 1978 and used it in the 1978 Pride Parade in United Nations Plaza in New York. The following year, it was damaged by flooding at a community center storage site, but Baker salvaged a 10 by 12 foot section of it. No one knew what became of that remnant after Bigger's death in New York in 2017. It turns out it ended up in his sister's garage and was discovered by accident in 2019. Also making headlines tonight, a 32-year-old ruling that bans assault weapons in California has been overturned by a federal judge. This move has gun control advocates up in arms, including a Pulse nightclub shooting survivor. John Lawrence has more on the overturned ruling.
Quick question now, I gotta ask you, is it weird being back at the wall? You look like a pro, like you hadn't lost your touch at all.
I had to practice my pivot.
Did you really?
No.
Oh.
Now it's like riding a bicycle, but it's nice to be back. It's nice to see your face. Nice to be talking to you. Nice to see all my coworkers on a more consistent basis. So
yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
This year's Kennedy Center honors will look a little different due to the pandemic, yet the honor remains the highest tribute a performing artist can receive. CBS News correspondent Deborah Alfarone takes us inside for a sneak peek. Tennessee, the Chattanooga Football Club decided to make their latest promotional event one to remember. The organization sponsored a goat yoga session. You can see on your screen participants completing yoga poses with the goats happily jumping on them. A goat's natural instinct is to climb and jump. So if you're in a yoga pose and low enough to the ground, they'll just hop on up. Not only was it a fun and healthy time, but each yoga participant was given a free ticket to Saturday night's home game. Now, some say Tom Brady is the GOAT, and is. At the Leland's Mid-Spring Classic auction, a Tom Brady rookie card sold for $3.1 million. The card is a 2000 Playoff Contenders Championship Rookie Ticket Autograph Edition. This sale was the most ever paid for a football card in a public auction. We're back with Ed Russo's final check of your forecast. Stay with us.